morning. Really appreciate you all coming here today to get a 6-week update. When I had my swearing in this room 6 weeks ago, I talked about 4 key priorities that I would focus on immediately. Those 4 key priorities were hiring experienced attorneys to come and help lead the office and restore the Circuit Attorney's Office to its proper place in the St. Louis criminal justice system. I also talked about the need to build collaborative relationships with key partners in terms of the mayor's office, the police department, community leaders, and local prosecutors. I talked about the need to stabilize the office. And once we stabilize the office, to start building a culture of excellence and making sure that we were an office that was prepared to show up where we needed to be and prepared to do what we needed to do. And finally, I talked about the need to work to relieve the backlog of cases that were pending in the courts, as well as the backlog of cases that were waiting for review in the warrant office. I am pleased to report that in our first 6 weeks, we've made substantial progress in all of these areas. In terms of hiring experienced attorneys, as I stand here today, we have hired 14 attorneys, all of whom are former prosecutors with experience. They are attorneys whose reputation in the legal community among judges and their peers is impeccable. Decades of experience prosecuting cases in this courthouse and in Missouri courts generally. Collectively, this group of 14 attorneys, experienced prosecutors, have tried over 300 felony cases. And, you know, when I accepted this job, that was probably my biggest question. Would people return and join us to do this work? And in the first 6 weeks, I can report to you that the answer has been a resounding yes. The former circuit attorneys have a dedication to this office and really are committed to restoring it to where it was in the past and making it even better. In addition to hiring very experienced prosecutors who are going to help lead us back, we've also formed partnerships with the United States Attorney's Office and some private law firms. With the United States Attorney's Office, I've met with U.S. Attorney Saylor Fleming, and we've reached an agreement that her office is going to have a number of attorneys cross-designated here in the circuit court for the city of St. Louis. Those attorneys are going to keep a docket of 20 homicide cases. That's where we need the most help, our most serious cases. We have a current backlog of 250 pending homicides, and that's where we need the most help, and that's where the United States Attorney's Office is going to step in and partner with us. By them being willing to keep a running docket of 20 homicide cases, it's going to give us additional capacity and also a lot of flexibility as we work our way through these pending homicides. In addition to partnering with the U.S. Attorney's Office, we've had former circuit attorneys, experienced prosecutors who are now at private law firms. We've had them agree to come back, 3 of them. Among them, they are, they've tried dozens of homicide cases and are equally experienced and prepared to help us. They've each agreed to handle a docket of 10 homicide cases. So collectively, between the U.S. Attorney's Office and the private firm lawyers we have helping us out, that gives us an additional capacity to carry 50 homicide cases, which is tremendous help to us. And like I said, in addition to just providing that additional capacity, it also provides us with additional flexibility. When I accepted this position and took over the office, I knew that we were facing a lot of challenges in terms of our work in the courts and dealing with pending cases. One thing I hadn't focused on as much that I've come to focus on as I've spent my first 6 weeks in the office is that there's also a lot of work to be done in terms of the support staff and the administrative infrastructure in the office. And we've been working on that as well. In terms of support staff, which is going to be key to the ability for our lawyers to come to court and do what they need to do, we've made an emphasis, and a point of emphasis has been to really rebuild the victim services office. We've hired 2 very experienced victim services advocates. We had a victim service advocate in sexual assault cases start on Monday, and we have another victim services advocate starting in 2 weeks who's going to be a supervisor for us in victim services. So we'll continue to build and focus there. That's something that is going to be critical to our success. In addition, to lead our support staff, we've brought back a very experienced paralegal who is going to supervise and help us rebuild the support staff to support the lawyers who are coming to court. To the extent in the past you've heard about discovery issues and that sort of thing, those are issues that are handled at the support staff level, and increasing the support staff and the effectiveness of that support staff is going to have a huge impact there. Building collaborative relationships. Started that focus on day one, really. Mayor Jones has been a partner in these 6 weeks. I think I had my first meeting with Mayor Jones and her staff a few days after I started. I've been over to the mayor's office 2 or 3 times already in 6 weeks. We've had a lot of good meetings talking about crime prevention and talking about ways that they can support us. I've been at a number of community functions with members of her staff, so we've been working together very well. We've also restored the relationship between our office and the city councilor's office. They are back representing us in connection with matters where that's appropriate, so that's a relationship that has also been restored. With the police department, Chief Tracy. Had a great meeting with Chief Tracy a couple weeks after I started. We met for 2 hours over at police headquarters. I got a tour of the Real Crime Center. We had a great wide-ranging discussion about places where our offices could work together and where we could improve our effectiveness. And in fact, I'm scheduled to meet with Chief Tracy today after this press conference. I hope that these meetings can become a monthly thing and that we can stay in touch that way. But more importantly than me and Chief Tracy meeting and making sure our offices are collaborating and working together, we've seen increased collaboration across the board. Reopening the Warren office has been a key part of the increased collaboration between our office and the police department. That really gives an opportunity for us to interact on a daily basis with frontline police officers as they come in and apply for cases. So that's a place where we've really seen increased collaboration and working together. In addition, my senior staff has had a number of meetings with senior staff at the police department on various issues. So that relationship is strong and getting stronger, and we really look forward to continuing to work closely together with SLMPD. I've already talked about the fact that we have a great relationship with the United States Attorney's Office. I've been over and met with U.S. Attorney Sailor Fleming on a couple of occasions. We've also been working very closely with St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, have had a number of meetings with Wesley Bell, and the St. Louis County prosecutors have been really key to our success in that they've been helping us bridge the gap as we're bringing on new attorneys. There's a number of court appearances that are required on a daily basis here just to kind of keep the system moving. Because of the lack of attorneys, we really had trouble covering that, and St. Louis County has really stepped in and loaned us some prosecutors to help us address those needs in the short term. In addition, St. Louis County has provided us a full-time employee to work with us in the warrant office, and that's really been extremely helpful to us in terms of relieving the backlog in the warrant office. St. Charles County, Joe McCullough has been very helpful to us. He has loaned out one of his prosecutors, Jane Darst, who is a former first assistant here, and she's been really integral and helpful to us in terms of working on the administrative issues and rebuilding the administrative side of the office that I've talked about. We've also gotten a lot of support from the Missouri Office of Prosecuting Services. Daryl Moore has been very helpful. They've provided us support in victim services. They've provided us support in the warrant office, and they've provided us support in terms of working on our case management system, and they're going to continue to provide that support as we go forward. So we've been very grateful for the help we've received from MOPS. The Attorney General's office has been helpful. They have agreed to take on all of our post-conviction relief briefing. That's key because it permits our prosecutors to focus on other things and gives them greater bandwidth. Franklin County Prosecutor's Office has recently agreed to send down 2 prosecutors every Friday, experienced prosecutors, to work in the warrant office and help relieve the backlog. So this is exactly the type of collaboration that I knew would be necessary for us to begin rebuilding the Circuit Attorney's Office, and I am happy to report that we have received it, and it's continuing. And I should also say that we've spent a considerable amount of time in the first 6 weeks rebuilding our relationship with the media. We believe that working with you is an important part of what we do. We are a public department providing a public service, and your job is to keep the public informed, and we think it's important that we work together and be collaborative in doing that. So we've also spent a fair amount of time on that. My third priority that I discussed was stabilizing the office and beginning a process of building a prosecutor's office that we could all be proud of and that can provide the services that the St. Louis community needs. I feel like in the first 6 weeks, we have achieved the first part of that, which is we have stabilized things. And we are now functioning in a more systematic manner and have processes in place and case coverage that is effective. We now begin the hard work of building the culture of excellence that I've talked about. I've talked with our attorneys, and I've said, let's start by every single day, everything we do, let's do it with the standard being the pursuit of excellence. When you go to a status conference hearing, a bond hearing, whatever, the smallest matter, let's focus on, are we doing this in the best possible way? Are we going to leave the court with the impression that these attorneys came prepared and presented, even on the most simple matters, in the best possible way? By focusing on the small things and instilling that culture of excellence, that's how we're going to get where I see this office going, which is being one of the best prosecuting attorneys' offices, not only in Missouri, but in the country. In achieving that, we're going to really have a big focus on training. And in that training, it's going to help that we have all of these excellent, experienced attorneys coming back to lead us. but it's also going to help that we have attorneys coming in from the U.S. Attorney's Office and private practice who have tremendous experience, and our attorneys are going to have a chance to work with them and see how they work up cases and hopefully have a chance to try cases with them in court, and that's going to all be part of our training process. So a big emphasis on training, making sure that the attorneys who were here when maybe the senior leadership wasn't here to provide that training are able to get that training now. In terms of clearing the backlog, like I said, today, when I was sworn in, we had approximately 250 pending homicides. That's about where we remain today. In addition to the 250 homicide, we have over 3,000 other felonies pending. That's a huge backlog of cases. We have begun to address that. When I was sworn in, we had 21 attorneys who were trial staff going to court and working on cases. As I've discussed, we've added to that trial staff considerably through the hiring of 14 former prosecutors who have a wealth of experience, and they're going to help us work through the backlog. The first step in that process is we've been getting case assignments to where our most experienced, most effective prosecutors are handling the most serious cases. And we've already seen some success there. Since I've been sworn in, we've had convictions, 2 murder-first convictions. The most recent coming last week in the case of Ollie Lynch. That case was tried by Marvin Tier, and we got a murder-first conviction, and the defendant in that case is facing life without parole. In terms of addressing the backlog in the warrant office, we've done some very good work there already. When I was sworn in, we estimate that the backlog in the warrant office was approximately 4,500 pending applications. And in the course of this 6 weeks since Steve Capizzi has taken over the warrant office, we've reduced that backlog from 4,500 to approximately 2,000. Now, that reduction reflects kind of making decisions on some low-level felonies and misdemeanors where the statute of limitations had run. It reflects getting rid of some duplicate applications that were in the warrant office. It reflects getting rid of some cases where the evidence just wasn't there, so we knew we weren't going to meet them. So it's been good that we've been able to quickly review and remove 2,500 cases. Now we're down to 2,000 or so, where we think that the process is going to be much more complex and move a little slower, but we will continue to work on those. And with the help of local prosecutors coming down, helping us conduct that review, we hope that we're able to get through those additional 2,000 cases by the end of this year. My priorities for the rest of the year. Obviously, I'm going to continue to focus on hiring experienced attorneys who can come in and help us out right away. Everyone we've hired so far are people who can hit the ground running and be an immediate assistance to us as we work through the tremendous number of pending cases. I have an interview with another attorney today, and I'm hopeful that we'll be adding an additional 2 attorneys in the next week or so. So that process continues. In addition to that, we're going to start recruiting younger attorneys. It's time to start returning to the process of recruiting attorneys straight out of law school, having them come to this office and receive the training that will make them excellent trial lawyers, and they can grow into that in this office. So this fall, I hope to have 3 to 5 lawyers join us straight out of law school and begin that process of building the next generation of circuit attorney prosecutors. So that's going to be a focus as we move forward. And of course, with those young attorneys, there's going to be a focus on having a training process and program in place that is one of the best for young prosecutors in the in the country. And by doing that, we will make this job attractive to the most talented law students. I am very proud of the team that we are assembling, the great dedicated attorneys who have returned to this office to help restore it. I am proud of the work that we are doing, and I am excited about our prospects going forward.